Hey, Starsky Hutch.
Hey, Huck, what you doing?
I heard on the TV news that there's a guy running around thinking he's a blood-sucking vampire. And the police can't protect us. So people gotta protect themselves.
You ready to crack?
Hey, for $7.50 you get your complete vampire protection kit. Complete with hammer and stake for finishing off the old dude. One cross, guaranteed to make any vampire of Christian persuasion cringe in terror. And one garlic wreath for all the rest of the denominations.
Antonio Fargas, smooth operator, extremely knowledgeable about anything dealing with theater and beyond. Can you tell our listeners or people that will read about this interview how you got started in theater and movies?
Well, I was one of 11 children. I was the third oldest, and I lived in Manhattan, on the lower west side of Manhattan, and my mother saw an ad in the newspaper. It was the Amsterdam News, which was a publication out of Harlem, and that's over 61 years ago. So,
Wow.
So she saw an ad in the newspaper. They were casting a film about sort of gangs in Harlem, so to speak. It's sort of like West Side Story, but set in Harlem, and it was a documentary-style movie. In fact, it was shot in black and white. It was so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought that maybe I would like to try out for a part in this movie. And I at first said was reluctant, but then I said yes. Somehow, and she always is so proud of the fact that she was convincing enough, and I cared enough about pleasing her as well, that I would take a chance, and I got a small part in that movie called The Cool World. And here I am 61 years later, because I was 14 years old. So we're talking about a lot of years.
Wow.
That's how I got started.
That is a lot of years. I just love how you are so detailed. Like, you go into great detail when you're sharing your story. So here's an interesting question. Don't quit your day job. What did you do or what sacrifices did you make in order to help pave the way into your acting career as you grew into theater?
Well, I had a hunger that I didn't know, and I didn't realize it was satisfying something. Because I looking back, I didn't do this, I didn't do it for the money. I didn't do it really for the fame. I did it because I felt like I was giving something, and what theater gave me. And I started first in the film, and then of course it was in the early '60s, late '60s that I really got started. It was sort of the renaissance of theater in New York, and black theater was taking off, coming off of the foundation and the shoulders of the civil rights movement. So, and then the Renaissance in Harlem and theater, and it just was the perfect timing for a young guy like me. And I wasn't by myself. There was other people who were in the film as well, in the Cool World, who also was like the seedling for a lot of the groups that were starting at the time. And one of the groups was the Group Theater Workshop, started by a renowned actor and philanthropist and just a great guy, Robert Hooks. And he started the Group Theater Workshop, which eventually turned into the Negro Ensemble Company. And I was in high school. I didn't go to my graduation because I had to sacrifice. My parents were able to go pick up my diploma because I got cast in a film, because I was doing a play while I was in high school, just a year before I graduated. I was doing a play off Broadway, and it was called The Toilet. It was by Amiri Baraka, who was known as Leroy Jones back then. And then they were casting a film going to Europe called The Amen Corner by James Baldwin. And I went and tried out for the juvenile lead in that. And I got the role, and my parents had to go to my graduation to get my diploma. And I toured Europe for almost the whole summer. And just wonderful experiences for a young black man out of New York. To see the world, and also to see the world through the eyes of an artist. So that was a momentous journey for me.
Wow. Would you consider that one of your most fondest memories?
Yes. I mean, when people say what memory or roles that I played, what do I prefer, or which one do I like, and each one of those memories is special to me. So they all were fun, and some of them were very small and intimate moments that I was able to connect. You know, I bathed in the river. We call it bathing in the River Jordan, but we put our feet in the water on my 18th birthday in Jerusalem because we were playing. The play was showing in Jerusalem, in Israel, and so that was a memory. And just all the different little things, the behind the scenes things. Yes, the sacrifices. You know, I had to take little jobs or whatever it is to support my art. Through the years, because it was hard to make a living at acting, even though I was a working actor, but it was hard to make a living to survive. And eventually I left home and got a little apartment, and so it was a struggle. But it seemed all worthwhile, you know, when I realized, you know, the experiences that I was able to experience, and now to be able to pass them on, and, you know, and also let people know whose shoulders I stood on, I stand on. And prepare my shoulders for those who come after me.
Okay, and theater versus film, like, what's the difference between the method acting and the two?
Well, theater is the well where it all started. Before there was film, of course, there was theater. So so I have a fondness in my heart for the techniques and that it takes to be on stage and to be exposed and to know that you can't cut and take two and all that. But it was an energy that we had and a love of theater that I took into the disciplines of what it takes to be a film actor. It's a whole nother discipline, but it uses the same artist in different ways. So I'm really grateful for the foundation that I got by knowing that when I was in a film, the first film I did gave me to think that I could communicate, or that I would be up there on the screen with all those actors from Hollywood and all those other stuff who were doing that, to know that I was beginning a career in that, and then to have transitioned into to stage, where that's where the foundation was really laid, and the love of this craft and the love of the other artists who were alongside me and who were guiding me came into play.
Okay, and you've mentioned quite a few times that you've often enjoyed playing pimps, drug addicts, and transgender people. Why?
Well, because of the pain and pathos, because they didn't have a voice. And from personal experience of having a brother who was also was gay, and seeing what the struggle that he had to go through, and then also I played roles that other people didn't want to play. I mean, a lot of taking those kinds of chances back then was not fashionable, but somebody, because I kind of spoke for the street, not the street life, but the heart of every character, because every character that I played had a heart, and and also every character that I played had a mother and a father, and those are the ingredients that make characters come alive. And if I committed to doing a role, that meant I was giving voice to that segment of society, and actors, in a sense, are teachers. We don't actually choose the subject, but we choose the commitment to the subject that we play, and to be true, to not give out a false note was my commitment to the characters that I played. Not to give a false note so someone could say, I experienced that, or I've seen that before. Right. And not see someone who's like, you see, for me, I see people who are acting at these roles, or acting at those experiences, and and no one knows what the truth is that comes across the footlights. All they know is what the results they see, and so the results turned out to be pretty good in terms of the. I made a niche for myself by playing roles that weren't popular at the time.
That's right. So, did you ever choose a role that intimidated you?
I think they all intimidated me, which is what made me surrender and give in to the role, because if I questioned, I just believed. I tried to believe that this person was a good person, was a human being. Mm-hmm. And so that took a lot. That took a lot of the questions out of whether I should do a role, or whether it was appetizing, or whether it was popular. So it's just about the commitment to every character again.
Okay. Now, do you think Starsky and Hutch and your character Huggy Bear helped to open the doors for shows like The Wire? Did you ever watch that show or hear about it?
Yeah, I saw The Wire. When I got Starsky and Hutch, I did a film called Across 110th Street. Mm-hmm. And the gentleman who directed the pilot for Starsky and Hutch. And I was a young, hungry actor in New York. And I got a call from the producers saying that Barry Shear, who directed the pilot for Starsky and Hutch, and the power of television. I mean, there were actors who were in television. Bill Cosby was in not Roscoe Lee Brown, but who is it? But a lot of actors but very few roles for us in terms of leading men and all that. So there was Sidney and a few others. Mm-hmm. And of course, Robert Hooks also started doing roles. But television was the most powerful media in the world is television.
Right.
So it was very much, in a sense, controlled. And what images they allowed to come through were characters like in the so-called black exploitation period, mm-hmm. and they knew that we were a commodity, and that we could tell a story, but the limited story we were able to tell, the limited story that Huggy Bear was able to tell, yes, I guess it sort of opened up doors for others, but others opened doors for me.
So, what's a number one rule of thumb that you use when getting into character? Speaking of roles.
To get out of the way. When I talk to people about young people about theater, and I say, you tell a young person, children are very good actors because they have less questions. Mm-hmm. They may not be able to have the depth of experience, but they believe in what they see. So I try to be a little bit childlike in a sense, mm-hmm. In terms of saying, okay, I believe the facts that they said about the character.
Right.
Just trying to believe the facts and leave my opinion out of it, leave my personal stuff about the character. And again, I wasn't doing it for the money. I just had a hunger, and I was really grateful for the opportunities that I got to play these roles,
right.
To play Huggy Bear, or Car Wash, Lindy, or Next Stop Greenwich Village, and then on and on. But television is the most powerful media in the world, and it, it elects presidents, it does things. I mean, it's just very, very. It sells us everything we buy now. Of course, there's the internet and so forth. So, but in that time, television was the deal.
Right. Okay. What would you like to see more of from black producers and actors today when you compare it to your experiences back then?
I'm seeing everything now, but I think, we should not be complacent or satisfied. But it is look at the palette of television today. Look at the many opportunities and the different streaming and different opportunities that actors have, to be seen or to have an opportunity. Anybody with an iPhone can make a film.
Thanks.
I mean, and before that, anyone with a drum machine and a microphone could make beats. then put the recording studios out of business in a sense, changed it, and the technology today is sort of put the big studios out of business. Now everything is about streaming and and content, and not only just here, but the world hungers for what we have. Now, I always remember going to. When I was in Austria, we opened the play in Austria, Amen Corner. Mm-hmm. I was laying in my bed in Vienna, and I heard black gospel music for the first time. I grew up in downtown Manhattan, and I wasn't that experienced with my own history. And today,
right.
young people are not experienced with their own history. They don't know. But since this revolution and since COVID and the pause and everything, people are more interested in the history. People are more interested in the Declaration of Independence. People are more interested in government. But back then, nobody was that much interested in the history. And for me, I was interested in the history. The struggle that it took for us to get to where we are today. And again, if you look at television, you would say there's no problem. When I was coming up, the minority role was played by African American men, and then women started to get an opportunity, and then women in general, and now we have diversity casting. When you see a casting sheet, it says all ethnic groups can apply for the job. They have to do that today, mm-hmm. And so therefore you have more LGBTQ, all kinds of relationships you see in commercials today, and you see in TV shows today. So it's a wonderful time, for young people but they should not forget where they came from. Should not forget the history and the shoulders that they stand on.
That's right. Now, as far as actors today, who do you have a favorite?
I'm amazed by everybody I see. Sometimes I see, the best singers were not always the ones that had the record deals. The best actors are not always the ones that were like, the stars of today. But mm-hmm. Today, being the Chadwick Bosemans and of course, the Denzel, whose shoulders everyone stands on, and then right. Of course Sydney. And there's so many women who are powerful voices of the craft of acting, as also representing their ethnicity as well. So I'm just marveling at what I see. I'll tell you, I do get lost on YouTube by looking at old performances and seeing things that I might have missed. Mm-hmm. So I think television is in a good place. Film is in a good place, and we are being represented by some dynamic talent. And I also don't want to be complacent. I don't want people to be complacent and feel like they're entitled. I think we have to keep a hunger. You have to keep a hunger and know that we still have to work for it.
That's right.
Nobody's going to give us anything. Nobody's going to give you. And unfortunately, the way the world is today, for me, I see people as becoming obsolete, and we are becoming obsolete as a people mm-hmm. because of technology. And so, therefore, there's a certain responsibility that we have to take for ourselves to make a way out of no way,
right? Because
nobody's going to give it to you. In fact, if they start giving it to you, then all of a sudden you're hooked on being taken care of. So it's a fine line that I feel we have to walk today as individuals and as African Americans in this diverse world that we live in today.
Okay, and speaking of diversity, how did you reinvent yourself during the pandemic? What did you do?
I learned that it's okay to do nothing.
Facts.
And be comfortable with that. I never could be comfortable with doing nothing. You walk around LA or places, and everybody felt, and I was there, I have to have a deal going on. I have to have something going on, or else I'm not relevant. Well, I guess after you've been in the business for 61 years and you've been on the planet for 75, you get a chance to know, hey, I've always been taken care of.
Right.
Something always came up for me. So what am I worried about the next job? As long as I have everything I need, I have a roof over my head, I have a little bit of an income, I'm good.
Facts.
You know, and I let people go through the pain of discovery that they're okay as they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I went through it. It's sort of like a rites of passage that we go through. And sometimes people have to go through the journey and their journey. And I call it giving people the dignity of failure.
That's right.
It was given to me. And now all I can do is, represent, because nobody knows. You never know who you're sitting next to on the bus or walking the street.
That's right.
You might need somebody. I need people more than I've ever needed them today. And I always say, I probably need you to wander more than you need me. And when everybody can say those when people come from that point of view, I think the world's in a better place. And and I do it by putting a shopping cart away, letting, the first thing I learned, we're talking about what did I do during the pandemic, the first thing I learned back in the day was to be able to, after my job was finished, to go get on the unemployment line and get my check and keep my head up.
That's right.
And it's so hard for people, they have all this success and then they don't have it, then all of a sudden they're lost because it goes by quickly.
Right.
And then they know what to do, then they're worried about what I'm going to do during the pandemic and all that, and I understand it because, we need credit, we need to pay the rent, all these things that we have, and then if you have, a manager told me one time, you take somebody who's never had any money all their life, and I'll give you an example, and all of a sudden you give them a lot of money, vis-a-vis a lottery or something like that, it can mess them up just as bad as somebody who had money all their life and entitled, and then you take it away. They're both destabilized.
That's right.
And today, I think there was someone said it was a joke. I know they tried to. You heard of Zaza Gabor?
Yes.
Okay. There was this sort of a joke that went around that says that she said it's better to cry in Rolls Royce than to be happy in a Volkswagen. So today I'm happy in my Volkswagen.
That's right.
And because you don't always, and then so many people, can be, be careful what you pray for, you might get it. So many people say they want success, say they want stardom, and then tear it down.
That's right.
And that's just part of the rites of passage that I was talking about.
Okay.
Giving people the dignity of failure.
I love that. I love that saying, give them the dignity of failure, which is so hard to do in the age of social media.
Right, because we want to save everybody.
Right.
I want to save everybody.
Right.
And I can't save everybody. And learning that today, it's a hard lesson.
That's
it's a hard lesson.
You are absolutely correct, even for me. So tell our listeners, what have you been up to lately and about the Purple Diamond Awards fundraiser dinner?
But you never ask. I don't know. Again, I feel like I'm going to go semi-retired. I don't know. I just am satisfied with the things I'm doing today. I help in my community. I put away the shopping cart. I don't get upset when somebody's, jumps in front of me in the car or cuts me off. I try not to let that ruin my day.
Right.
And I try to be of service. And so part of being on the planet this long and part of having a resume, and I've done some of the things I do, people get asked, I get asked to do interviews. I get asked to do all these things. I get asked to share my story. Well, today I was asked to host the Black Fairy Godmother Foundation Purple Diamond Awards fundraiser dinner on Saturday, October 30th at 7 p.m. at the Waterside Restaurant in North Bergen, New Jersey. And the Black Fairy Godmother Foundation helps those in need across the country, providing shelter, meals, clothing, and the families during disasters such as Hurricane Ida and so forth. And and also helping women leave domestic violence situations. It's just another group that was started by a foundation that was started by Simone Gordon. She is the Black Fairy Godmother, a young entrepreneur who's trying to make a difference and help. And so she's giving a Purple Diamond Award to different foundations and different organizations that are making a difference in their community across the country, and just doing her part. And I like that. I like where I can be of assistance in that way to those who are trying to make a difference. And that's my little piece I can give. And, they talk about, when you around, hopefully you learn that, when I was young, it was about taking. Mm-hmm. And now, as I've made this turn and realized it was a spiritual journey, my life has been a spiritual journey, now it's about giving back. The old cliche, giving back.
Right.
Well, it's real. It's real. And if and you always have someone. And also, when someone asks me if, for help or something like that, okay, I say, okay, I'm willing to help you, but now who are you helping?
That's right.
Each one teach one. So you're never too poor to give. You're never too rich to receive, and all those things. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm looking forward to October 30th in North Bergen, Virginia, at the Waterside Restaurant. For the Black Fairy Godmother, and it's the second annual fundraiser dinner that they're having. And Howard Hewlett is going to be the musical treat for the audience and for those who come out. And it's a formal, so you get a chance to put on your tux or whatever you like to represent you as in a formal wear, mm-hmm. and have a wonderful evening and do some good out there.
Yay. Okay. I love that. So, and you said you're somewhat not 100% retired. Like, you're still acting.
I don't know. If something comes up and I'm interested, mm-hmm. I learned how to say no today. I don't have to say yes to everything. Mm-hmm. And, and as I said, it always worked out. I wouldn't be on the phone right now with a 61-year career if it didn't work itself out.
That's right.
Without me trying to make it happen, But again, that's the rite of passage. I tried to make it happen. I felt, I wasn't good enough if I didn't get this, or being in competition with my mm-hmm. fellow artists and all that stuff. When we grew up in New York, we used to tell other actors, hey, you know what, if you got us a job down there, if I don't get it, I hope you get it. But once you start moving up and your needs more, your mortgage gets better, and then it's one person's agent and their manager against the other one and all that other stuff. And, but just like in sports, the players are family, mm-hmm. And when we forget that we're family, and we're all in this thing together, and we all will get our needs met. But again, the rites of passage says there is some of that. There is some of that competition and all that. And, I'm not good enough. I don't get an Academy Award, if I don't do this and all this other stuff. But it's the joy when I see somebody's eyes light up when they see me, and they can reference to something, that happened in their life when they were watching me on television and all that. When I walk down the street in New York or any place and someone says, hey, I know you, that means something. That's a buttoning of a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I've had millions because, again, television being the most powerful media in the world, and for a show like Starsky and Hutch, and now all the films that you do are streamed everywhere in the mm-hmm. world. So, I used to, when I did a play in England once, I had to take a taxi to the theater every night, and it was in a small town, theater town in England, and every one of the cab drivers in the small town who came to pick me up to take me to the theater said, Antonio, you don't have to pay me. I just want to thank you for what you did for me growing up watching Starsky and Hutch. That's the power and the humility that you can get from realizing that you can make a difference in somebody's life, and sometimes it's, if it's not read right, they might even take it the wrong way.
Right.
But you do make a difference in people's lives.
All right. So, do you have social media handle where our listeners can follow you?
Nope, I don't. I'm not a Facebook guy. You know what I mean? I think it's a little late in my career to feel like I've got to do that.
Right.
I think there's too much of it, actually, but there are a lot of benefits to it. It brings people together and does some good stuff, and, you connect with so many people. If people have my phone number, my email, that's enough, and I'm not that I'm going to give that, but, I get even anybody who wants to find you can find you.
Right.
So I get mail and, and fan mail, whatever will come to me because, and I try my best to answer it, but no, I'm not a big, there's Antonio Fargas presence on Facebook and, but also AntonioFargas.com is a website which which I'm in control of and which I try to keep it up to date and all that, but I don't, it's a lot of work.
Right.
But again, I'm not trying to raise my hand and say, look at me, and everything is out there, if you want to research. I mean, I on the phone, I'm Googling all day long sometimes, and I don't know something, the power in those little devices that we have today. It's amazing.
Right.
So
it is.
So no, but you can find me on Facebook, but I'm not one to have conversations. In fact, I don't even like texting back and forth.
I know that's right.
I pick up the phone and call somebody.
Mr. Fargas said, don't do it. Don't even come at me like that, okay? So thank you so much. As usual, 7 years later, you're still a delight to speak with. Thank you so much for taking the time out just to even have this conversation. I was so excited to talk to you today, and I'm just glad that you're the same OG, okay?
So maybe, hopefully, if I can be on the planet another 7 years, hopefully before then, we'll do a visual Zoom. I'm just not big on that. I just like to be able to have conversations like this and be real relaxed, which is why I like podcasts. And people can just be relaxed and be who they are, and
Facts.
don't have to worry about how they look and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm grateful I got a chance to do this, and all because of the Purple Diamond Award fundraiser dinner in New Jersey.